And the death toll in Iran's protests is rising. Activists say the Iranian regime has killed more than 3,900 people since the protests started and detained more than 24,000. Meanwhile, several accounts shared with ABC News suggest the regime is charging the families of those killed up to $14,000 before returning the bodies of their loved ones. ABC News chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell has those details. Hi, Ian. What's the latest on this report from the human rights activist news agency?
Yeah, I mean, the situation for people inside Iran has not improved at all. There's practically martial law inside the country. We're hearing cases of people who were wounded when the government troops and security forces opened fire, are afraid to go to hospital because they know they could be picked up by the security forces if they do. And as you say, we're being told, and we've heard this from a number of different sources now, that people are being charged by the Iranian regime to receive the bodies of their loved ones who were gunned down. And that death toll that you mentioned is appalling. I mean, this is now starting to look as one of the worst massacres of its kind, perpetrated by a state against its own people, that we've seen in decades. Now, we know that as well as the official number that's being cited, they're looking at many more cases. And if those cases prove also to be cases that have where people have been killed by the regime, then this will certainly stand as an infamous incident in Iranian and world history.
And President Trump says he stopped the planned execution of 800 protesters. What's Iran saying about that?
Yeah, I mean, they're just denying it. They're accusing President Trump of having fabricated this. Now, they're not saying that they are planning executions, but they're talking about ringleaders being severely punished. And the specific language that they use implies potentially execution, because that same language, when it's been applied in the past to previous protesters, has then carried the death penalty. The situation in the country means it's still very, very hard to get any information out. But it really is a crisis for the Iranian people, and they're desperate for the world to see and hear their cries.
So what's next for this protest movement, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. President Trump, you remember, told people to go back out onto the streets. Now, he hasn't really commented on the situation in Iran. There was an exchange between Iranian leaders and President Trump online over the weekend. The Ayatollah basically blaming President Trump for the deaths, Ayatollah Khamenei, and also the Iranian president saying, look, if you launch any kind of attack against the Ayatollah, that will be considered a case of all-out war in its response. I think it's very hard for people to rally. If this death toll is what we think, you can just begin to imagine a nation in total shock, fear penetrating every corner of the country, people afraid even to go to hospital, afraid to send their kids back to school, afraid to go back to work, shopkeepers afraid to reopen. So it is a climate of terror inside the country right now. And the whole idea that people will go out again if they think that the President of the United States is not going to follow through on his promise to show support, they're unlikely to do so. Diane?
Ian Pannell, thank you.